What's up, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. Just got back from the Kaseya Center. Now it's for a heat game. UFC 299 in the books as the second Miami card in 2 years. Concluded. Awesome night. Awesome night of fights. Awesome card. Fun matchups. Not necessarily like the most competitive, but everything was captivating tonight. Atmosphere was crazy. Dana White said it did over, I think he did 14.1 something million gate arena record, fourth biggest of all time. And so my number one takeaway is here for all the South Florida fans who do watch me and know how much I care about fighting and how much I enjoy it. And, you know, I started many years ago doing a local MMA and boxing show, Fighters Fury, which, you know, was first piloted by my guy Alex Dono and created with his partnership with Seaman Tommy Guns. And then after Dono had left for QAM at the time, it passed over to me. I was more of a box guy. I wasn't a big MMA guy, and Dono kind of got me into a lot of that stuff with it was actually some Fedor fights. But, you know, for the longest time was just always dying. We were dying to see the UFC make its return here. There were a couple, you know, there was one at the Hard Rock, and then there was one at BB&T, but never had we gotten like the vibe of doing an actual one in the 305. And, you know, you equate it to a couple things. I think one, the rise of popularity down here has just gotten through the roof with how many people train down here, which was always here, but it just feels like it's been at a next level. Then on top of it, you have to definitely equate into it the rise of Jorge Masvidal. His 2019 was absolutely special. You know, his time coming down here was actually right. I remember him doing Radio Row right before the pandemic hit with the whole Kamaru Usman thing, before there was a Fight Island and all that. Had their little brawl. And then Florida becoming the first host state of the UFC out of the pandemic. So Dana got very in with the governor, and then was spending some time down here because, as you know, all of a sudden the world realized it's awesome down here. And so why couldn't this just be a place that housed an event like the UFC? And Dana actually was funny to say, you know, he was talking about this and just said this is not, you know, just a big event city. This is a great sports town. It's a big sports town, and put it in the realm of a Madison Square Garden. He says you put numbers up with those types of buildings. So it's just crazy to think where this was, you know, a mere 6 years ago, where they wouldn't even touch Miami. Wouldn't even touch. He talked a little bit about this today in the post fight press conferences. Just be like, no press showed up. I brought Anderson Silva. Nobody came. And to where it is now. And guys, I got to tell you, I walk in the building today. And when you do stuff at the Kaseya Center, you could do it in a couple of places. Like there's typically, for basketball games, for example, the Heat have a pretty big press room where, if you guys see where Eric Spoelstra's press conferences are, it's a pretty big spot, but it's, you know, the way they have it set up is much better. The UFC likes to put tables out and have them all mic'd up, and so everybody, all questions can be heard. It's a big production. They're very big on production. Whereas in you know, basketball, you got a room that's probably big enough for 60 people, maybe 50 people, but, you know, usually in a pregame in that setting, there's a dozen people, you know, maybe 15, 20 at most. So you're just passing the mic around, no big deal. So the last time UFC was here last year as a media member, went through that whole thing, and it was crammed. It was annoying. You know, I had people, you know, stepping on my camera and ruining my stuff, and, you know, so anyway, get the itinerary for today, and it says the media center's now in the practice court. And I'm like, the practice court? Like upstairs? And yeah, you go up there, and if you guys have not seen, you've probably seen footage from practice. The Heat have a court that you go up the stairs in their offices is their practice court. It's beautiful. You could see the bay. Banners, the banners that hang in the arena, they also hang in the practice court. And so I put up a video on my Instagram you could see of like, oh, you could see the Heat banners that are all there, but then it's, you know, kind of a blackout tent. They do like a pop-up tent. They've done these for like the finals, but it's typically in the bowels of the arena, but you can't really do it down there because that's where fighter walk-ins are. That's where guests come in. So they put it up there, and you would have thought like the Super Bowl was there. As an aside, the people covering the media afterwards for the post, I didn't think that much size was needed for the people who actually stuck around for the full post-fight press conferences, but whatever. The reason being is so much media came in from Ecuador and South America to cover Chito Vera. And that was the biggest takeaway from this week out of anything. You know, Chito got thoroughly dominated in this bantamweight championship match, but he unbeknownst to a lot of us, he knew this because when I interviewed him, he said, like, I already get a hero's welcome at home. I asked him about the idea of an Ilia Topuria of bringing the belt home and what that would mean. Would you feel like you'd have a hero's welcome? He goes, well, I already get that. And I kind of just was like, all right, cool, confident guy. But he was actually telling the truth. And this was supposed to be an event that was Sean O'Malley's coming out as a star. Like, you are the new crown jewel of the UFC. And it really wasn't that from a fan reception standpoint, because Chito stole it from him. And that's the thing that's crazy about it. You know, Sean still had a great performance, dominant performance. As, you know, I put my money on Marlon Vera basically because I wanted a big, fat, greedy parlay. But I did say going into this, I said, look, the logic says Sean O'Malley, and the odds were right on him. He was fighting better than Chito was going into this. Chito had become a bit of a headhunter. He lets too many rounds slip by before he gets his ass in gear. And he hit Sean with, he had like probably like 3 to 4 moments. You know, it was the end of a round. He hit him really hard. Sean didn't know what corner to go to. He, hit Sean with a big liver shot at the end of the fight. He had some knees himself that really gave Sean some problems, but Sean really just, it was a barrage. And I don't know how Chito the hell stood up from that second round knee that just sounding, that was crazy. I don't know how the hell he did that. But it was a down performance by Sean O'Malley. I'm sure it'll be interesting to see what the reception is the next time he goes, because I don't know if this is, Sean shouldn't get any hate on this performance at all, other than you couldn't finish Chito, who's a zombie. But, you know, I'm curious to see, you know, what the naysayers will say. He said he wants to fight Topuria next. And I agree with what Daniel Cormier said on the broadcast afterwards. They had this piped into the press room, is that he and Ilia, they both need to, I think, defend their throne a little bit before they cross over. And I know Ilia's also taught, Ilia wants to go up, Sean wants to go up. All these guys don't want to cut weight. They all want to go up. I mean, you know, Sean O'Malley, he's got the deepest division in the sport with, you know, Merab and Corey Sandhagen and Piotr Jan and him have a very close fight, a very, very close fight. And Piotr Jan looked really, really good tonight. You know, so I just think that Umar Nurmagomedov is on the up and up. Like, I just think Sean's got to defend the throne a little bit before we can start talking about, oh, you get to go up to 145. Ilia's a little different because Ilia, to me, like, you beat Volkanovski. Holloway's gone up for a BMF. There's not a ton that's there other than, I guess, Brian Ortega. But if you talk, like, he should fight Brian Ortega. Sean O'Malley should fight Merab. If they both win and nobody really presents themselves by the end of the year and you want to do that fine. 155 is already, Dustin said this perfectly today, where he said 155 is already murky enough as it is. Topuria cannot be going up and taking on Islam Makhachev. That cannot be happening. But speaking of Dustin Poirier, definitely my favorite part of today was seeing his win over Benoit Saint Denis. Dude, they put me up high on the press today. It's been the one thing with doing the Miami cards the last 2 times around that's hurt old Tobe's feelings a little bit. Like, I've been in with these guys and promoting them and, doing a lot of great stuff. And UFC PR does a tremendous job. I cannot speak highly enough about what a great staff that is and the events I've been to in various cities. But the last 2 in my city, they stick me up in the old crow's nest. I was like, Jesus, what are we doing? That neither here nor there, but still was cool to be in the atmosphere. I had my camera so I could see a lot of the fans. I saw my boy Sergey Bobrovsky there, taking on Piotr Jan. He was rooting for him, suited and booted Sergey Bobrovsky. But my favorite part of the night by far was Dustin Poirier. His win over Saint Denis was crazy because he kept jumping into the guillotine, trying to get the gilly to come through. He thought that he almost got one, but he just kept putting himself in these tough positions. But, shout out to my boy Dia Davis, who congratulated on the way out of the press conference today. But shout out to the Boca Boxing District. Dude, there's just not a better set of boxing hands in that sport than Dustin Poirier. Justin Gaethje can break you down and come forward like a zombie with those leg chops and make you a wounded duck, but I mean, just nobody is better and pure in the pocket and chaos than Dustin Poirier. You walk into that bee's nest, you're going to be paying for it, and Benoit Saint Denis becomes the latest victim for that for Dustin Poirier. And it is an interesting spot. I don't really know where he goes from here. He was talking today about it being a murky division, and you have the BMF title that's going to be decided next month. 2 guys that he's beaten. One of those in Gaethje, he has 1-1, so they're definitely going to be a trilogy there. Sarukian and Oliveira are going to fight for the number 1 contendership, one would think. And then, his and then you're just kind of in this holding pattern right now because we don't really have who the next guy is for Islam. But you win like this, and you win in this fashion, and you win fight of the night, and you win in a fight everybody thought you were crazy to take. If you did give him the crack at Islam Makhachev, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, what Dustin did tonight, if you're going to just do tit for tat, like, look at the reason Cheeto basically got the matchup tonight. Basically because it's a cool rivalry and it was a fun stylistic fight. He didn't deserve it more than Merab did, but he got it. So it wouldn't be outrageous to me if let's just say Sarukian and Charles Oliveira have a stinker of a fight if Dustin went and played leapfrog on the line. So he was awesome though, man. He remains awesome, and love Dustin. He's my favorite active fighter. It was Robbie Lawler. He replaced him, and then to see what he's just still doing is really, really cool. I don't know how much longer you will have him, but while you have him, appreciate him because he's a bad motherfucker, dude. He's a bad motherfucker and is fun to watch. So, biggest bummer of the night, seeing my boy Gilbert Burns go down. Fight that he basically had in hand. If he had like 30 seconds left in that second round, I think he probably would have found a submission on Jack Della Maddalena. But to Jack's credit, was able to get out of a rough position up against the wall where he's probably he's probably minutes away from losing a decision. Well, he would have lost a decision even if he would have won the round because Gilbert was up 2-0. Looked good, hitting the bigger shots, was able to get the takedowns, was able to get in submission positions. And Jack just looked a little bit like he just didn't know when to hit the gas on anything. Like everything was very tempered. And then he hits Gilbert in this scramble with a knee, and just you could just tell immediately Gilbert was done. And a little bit of ground and pound, probably was over. And my boy Gilbert was very emotional. You know, he just age, I think, 2 straight losses, out basically a year. 37 years old. I think a lot of stuff's starting flowing through his mind right now. You know, he's got a lot of things I think that are going through his mind. You know, he's gotten one crack at the title against his guy Kamaru Usman, which was, you know, to be fair, a weird one where it was kind of like, you know, they were pitting him and Usman against each other, even though those guys used to be training partners, and made this you know, varsity JV thing. And I don't think that's Gilbert's style. I think you guys know Gilbert is probably as nice as they come. So to see him lose like that was a bummer. But I will say the one thing that gives JDM some solace and some points in my eyes, that dude called out Shavkat afterwards, and that's a call out. You know, everybody's like, oh, I want to go cross, I want to go fight multiple titles, I want to this. That dude called out what he said. They say that he's the scariest dude. I say I'm the scariest dude. Calling out Shavkat, who I think is going to destroy him, but he called him out, and that gets huge brownie points in my eyes. The MVP fight and Kevin Holland was a little bit weird. I don't know. Not too much to say from it. It was quirky. It was weird. It was fun. Petr Yan looked really good. Sergey Bobrovsky was really happy for his countrymen. So that was cool. And then probably the other 2 moments of the night to point out were the feature main event, Curtis Blades hammer fisting Jailton Almeida after a rough first round. Second round, 30 seconds in, just hammer fists him right up against the fence, and boom. Razor Blades is there. You know, the audio wasn't great. I think he called out Tom Aspinall. If I'm missing that, I apologize. But Curtis Blades is another one who is an interesting case on stuff because, you know, his fight with Tom Aspinall ended a little bit wonky with the knee injury. And, you know, he's just always just had a problem with the monster power punch guys like Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Pavlovich. Those are always the guys that seem to give Curtis Blades trouble. But like these guys who are like, you know, good punchers, he's dangerous, dude. He's a dangerous man. I mean, he's only got 4 losses in his career. He's lost twice to Ngannou. Derek Lewis, Sergey. Yeah. So he's only lost to 3 people. And it's one particular style of fighter. So he looked awesome. Great for him. And then so if he wants to get a shot at Aspinall again, I'm all for it. And then let's see, Gamrot looked good. Kyler Phillips looked good against Munoz. Clear decisions. Macy Barber got a win. I would say, there were 2 finishes in the early prelims. Michelle Pajeda over Mikhail Olachek. That was a sick submission. And then this Robles de España, just monster. You know, lasted 18 seconds, but you can see he looks like a cartoon character. If that can get any kind of a role, guy's going to be a problem, but still a lot to prove, obviously. Anyway, somehow it's 5 a.m. now. I don't even understand how that happened, but it was a great night. Appreciate the UFC for letting us cover it, and appreciate all the guests all week with the last 2 weeks with Cheeto and Gilbert and MVP and Chael Sonnen and the whole lot of them. It was a fun week in Miami. It's cool to see what this place has become, which is a destination for big fights.